What's going on, everybody? It's Key Time coming back with another one to talk about Week 14 of the NFL season. And yes, I know I got a Dallas Cowboy mask on, but I'm going to get to that later on in the video. But I want to talk about the first game of the week. It was the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I didn't expect much from this game, but Bailey Zappi, he had a okay game, a decent game. He had 240 yards, one passing touchdown, and another one rushing. So the Patriots, they played better than I expected. On the second hand, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the offense, it looks pedestrian. It looks inept. It looks anemic. It looks all of that. It looks utterly pathetic. I don't know. It was not Matt Canada as the coordinator because you are still having the same type of issues, even though he done been out of the building for about 2 weeks now. The offense was supposed to improve without Matt Canada, but it's regressing without Matt Canada. So either it's Kenny Pickett or the wide receivers or the tight ends or the running backs, but some way it seems like the Steelers cannot get out of their own way. If they have one penalty on an offensive drive, it seems like it set the whole drive back. If you get one 5-yard penalty or one 10-yard penalty, when it comes to the Steelers offense, it sets it all the way back, and then they start punting. After that penalty, the Steelers will punt. The Steelers offense is regressing, and it hasn't been good all season. So why do we expect it to be good now since Matt Canada been fired? Was it Matt Canada or is it Kenny Pickett? It may be both because Kenny Pickett, he is up and down. Now, he didn't start this game. It was Mitchell Trubisky, but Mitchell Trubisky, he is just a career backup now. He was a starting quarterback in Chicago, but what has he done over the last few years? He has done nothing over the last few years. That's why he's only a backup to the backup. Kenny Pickett, he is not playing like a starting quarterback. That's all I got to say for that game. The next game I want to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta, y'all had y'all chance to win this game. You really did. But you missed a layup. Well, I'm not even going to say that because Tampa Bay isn't really a layup, but you missed a chance to increase your lead in the division because since y'all lost and since Tampa won, everybody is in a three-way. Everybody but the Panthers are in a three-way tie for first place. Now, Tampa Bay, the last few games, Baker Mayfield, he hasn't been throwing any interceptions. But like I said, with Baker Mayfield, he is hot and he is cold. He is up, he is down. One game, he could throw 4-5 interceptions. The next game, he can throw 4 or 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So it's just a hit or a miss with Baker Mayfield. But Mike Evans, 1,000 yard receiving season for the 10th time in his career. Congratulations to him and congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on getting a win that helps you in the division by a lot. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears. When I look at the Lions, is this just a team full of hype? Because early in the season, the defense, the offense, the special teams, it was hitting on all cylinders. But since the start of November, the offense has went cold. The defense is cold sometimes. And sometimes the special teams, they are missing assignments too. So, and I thought that they would go into Chicago and win in Chicago, but obviously they didn't. And I want to get into some of the play calling that transpired in Chicago. It's fourth and 15, and it's not even halftime yet, and you're going for it. Dan Campbell, what was your thought process there? It's fourth and 15 just before halftime, and you go for it. I mean, you have the entire game left. It's not like Chicago blew you out. You only lost by 15. And it was another instance in that game where Detroit went for it on fourth down when they didn't need to. And those two times that they went for it on fourth down, Chicago got the ball back and went down the field for touchdowns on both of those drives. Now, if you didn't go for it on fourth down on those two separate occasions, you probably win the game. Because Chicago, they ain't able to go down an 80 yard field. But if you turn the ball over, whether it's on downs or just giving the ball away, you keep a team like Chicago in the game. Now, Detroit, y'all got tough sledding. Y'all got tough sledding along the way. The Bears, congratulations to the Bears on playing spoiler. That's all that they can do right now is play spoiler. Because only thing that Chicago is doing right now is trying to improve their draft stock for the 2024 NFL draft. That's all. But that's all I have on that game. The next game I want to talk about is Indianapolis Colts and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati has won 2 straight. They are 7-6. The Colts are also 7-6. Do you all know in the AFC bracket there are 7 teams at 7-6? And we have never had that before ever in the history of the NFL. For 7 teams this late in the season to be 7-6, and all of them can make a push for the playoff spot. Now back to what I was saying. Cincinnati, they keep on winning. They are 7-6 right now. If Cincinnati keep on winning, and they have a couple of those teams that are 7-6 to lose, maybe 1 or 2, Cincinnati may get that 7th spot. But it remains to be seen. There's a lot of luck involved in that. A lot. With the Colts, you had a 3-game winning streak. You had a 3-game winning streak going on. I believe that Indianapolis, they'll have a chance to make a case for that last or the 6th playoff spot too. Because that team, I thought that they were down in the dumps after Anthony Richardson got hurt. But Gardner Minshew, he has held it down for the Colts organization. For Indianapolis, you still have a chance to make the playoffs. You can't lose any more games. And also for Cincinnati, keep winning. You can't lose any more games. And then you will make it to the playoffs. The next game I want to talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars and Cleveland Browns. The Jacksonville Jaguars, you came out flat in this game. That's what it boils down to. The Jaguars came out flat in this game. And I knew that it was going to be one of those games when Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions in the first quarter. I said it's going to be one of them games. And then you got Cleveland that has went through 4 quarterbacks throughout the season. 4. Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, P.J. Walker, and now they are on Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was just on the couch 3 weeks ago. So props to Joe Flacco for coming off the couch and winning a game for the Cleveland Browns. As far as the Jaguars, you are the 4th seed in the AFC right now. It's going to take a lot for you to get the number 1 seed. Plus, the Jaguars have the Ravens coming up on Sunday night. So that is going to have serious playoff implications on that game. There are serious playoff implications on that game, but I'll talk about that in another video. As far as for the Jaguars, you've lost 2 straight games. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty. Where whoever wins, whoever loses, that could separate you from having either home field advantage or going on the road in the playoffs. So the Jaguars, you got tough sledding. You got to get it together. The next game I want to talk about is the Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints. I ain't going to talk too much about the Carolina Panthers because we know that this was a rebuilding year for them. Bryce Young, hey, he's going through a rough patch, but I expect Carolina to do a whole lot better next year. They'll do a whole lot better next year. Now, New Orleans, I was expecting you to take control of the NFC South, but you're in a 3-way tie with the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the top spot in the NFC. Now, there's still four more games before the end of the season. So we will see if New Orleans can win the division. Do I think that they can win it? Yes, if they play like the way they played versus the Carolina Panthers. But if they play like the way they played versus Tampa and Atlanta and all those other teams, they'll be sitting at home watching the playoffs. So that's all I got for that game. The next game I want to talk about is the Houston Texans and New York Jets. The New York Jets, is this really Zach Wilson's time? Because Zach Wilson, he played a good game. Can he do that on a consistent basis? He has his chance to do it next week against the Miami Dolphins. They are playing the Miami Dolphins. Matter of fact, they playing the Miami Dolphins this weekend coming up. He has a chance to showcase his talents. The way he showed them against Houston is the same way that he is going to have to show them against Miami. But I will save my prediction for another video. Zach Wilson had a good game, 301 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. And as far as the running game was okay. It was over. They had over 100 yards in the run game. But this is the New York Jets. They are 5-8. They currently, oh my goodness, they currently have a chance to make the playoffs. Who would have thought that 3 weeks ago? They currently have a chance to make the playoffs. They are on the outside looking in, but do I think the Jets gonna make the playoffs? No. It is gonna take a miracle for the Jets to make the playoffs. It's gonna take 3, maybe 4 Herculean games like this from Zach Wilson to make the Jets playoff, to make the Jets get into the playoffs. The next game I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, yeah, your defense is a little suspect after this game. You needed a last-second overtime walk-off punt to win this game. Now, credit the Los Angeles Rams. They are fighting for a playoff spot too. So that's why I expected the game to be this close. But I didn't expect it to go into overtime. I didn't expect this at all. But congrats to Baltimore. You protect home. You haven't lost a home game all season. And for the Rams, you are 6-7, currently on the outside looking in. Do I think that the Rams can make a late playoff push? Yes, but can they win all of their games? No, I don't see them winning all of their games, and they will be out of the playoffs, and they'll be at home watching the playoffs. The next game I want to talk about, this game, sat back football, 80 years. It's the Minnesota Vikings and Las Vegas Raiders. This game, the final score speaks for itself. Not much offense, not much defense at all, but just bad offense altogether. Minnesota won this game 3-0. There were times in this game where it was tough to watch. Now, Minnesota's quarterback, Joshua Dobbs, he got injured. But still, the Las Vegas Raiders offense was putrid. Everything about this game was bad. But credit to both defenses for stepping up, keeping the game scoreless for about 58 minutes, and then the Vikings defense making a game-changing play in the form of an interception to win the game. So congratulations to Minnesota. Same 6-7. Can they make it to the playoffs? Probably can, but I wouldn't bet my money on it. Same with Las Vegas. They are not making the playoffs. So we could just go ahead and bury that hatchet. The next game I want to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, they keep taking the cake. San Francisco is the best team in the NFL from top to bottom. Do they have a weakness on that team? It's hard to say if they have a weakness or not because they are loaded at every position on that team. You have Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy in the last 8 games, Brock Purdy has averaged at least 250 passing yards a game and at least 2 touchdowns a game. That's MVP worthy. But it's MVP worthy, and plus you have Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, he had a good game. He had over 145 yards rushing. Well, over 100 yards rushing. He had 145 to tally it up. So the 49ers, complete team, offense, defense, special teams. Seattle, you are on the verge of not being in the playoffs because you have lost 5 of your last 6 games, and the schedule is not getting any easier for Seattle. That's all I have on that game. The next game I want to talk about is the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, this is something that you haven't done since Patrick Mahomes has been your quarterback, but you will have to go on the road in the playoffs and try and win a game or 2 or 3 on the road this year, because you're not going to be able to get the number 1 seed with an offense like that. The offense over the last 3 or 4 games has struggled to score 20 points. Before that, during their 3-game winning streak, they scored 23 points. So it's you can't fathom this. You can't even fathom how the Chiefs' offense is. They're struggling to score 3 touchdowns, and you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. Now, credit the wide receivers and the running backs. Sometimes the wide receivers ain't doing their job. Sometimes the running backs ain't doing their job. But Kansas City, 8-5. You're gonna have to have the Baltimore Ravens to lose 3 of the final 5 games, I don't see that happening. So that's why I say that that's why I say that the Kansas City Chiefs will have to go on the road and win 2, maybe 3 playoff games in order to get to the Super Bowl. Now, as far as Buffalo concerned, Buffalo, you're 7-6, still have a chance to make the playoffs, but your season is hanging by a thread. You cannot lose another game this season if you are the Buffalo Bills. Do I think that Buffalo can make it to the playoffs? Yes. Will I put my money on it? No, because Josh Allen is just like, I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, but Josh Allen is just like Baker Mayfield. He is hot and he is cold. He can give you a perfect game. 5 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and then he can give you games where 3 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns. That's the type of quarterback that Josh Allen has become. So that's all I have for that game. The next game I want to talk about is the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. Denver Broncos, I knew this was going to be a bounce back game for y'all. The Los Angeles Chargers, Brandon Staley, go ahead and get the boxes prepared, pack up your things, pack up your bags, because you leaving the Chargers after this season. I mean, coming into the season, everybody had you on their board of possible Super Bowl contending teams, and now you might not even make it to the playoffs, which is sad in its own right. But for the Denver Broncos, you guys have improved a lot since the Miami game. And that's all I got to say about this game. The next game I want to talk about, Sunday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles and for all intents purposes, my Dallas Cowboys. Yep, Dak Prescott, he showed everybody on Sunday Night Football that the MVP crown is his to take. Now, Dallas, the defense played outstanding. 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles. And as far as the defense concerned, they kept Devontae Smith in check. They kept A.J. Brown in check. And Jalen Hurts, he didn't know whether to run or pass the ball in many cases in the game. And the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles was only able to generate 6 points. Now those 7 points, it came from the defense. But do we have to reassess the Philadelphia Eagles now? Because 2 weeks ago they were 10-1, best in the NFL. But now, since you've experienced a beatdown to the 49ers, I might have you. You experienced a beatdown on Sunday night versus my Dallas Cowboys, I might add you, which it was great. It was a great game, all facets of the game for the Dallas Cowboys. Now you're going into Seattle for the Philadelphia Eagles. You are going into Seattle in a tough place where it's hard to win. And plus, your offense hasn't been looking that hot since the game against the Buffalo Bills, where you had to basically go the whole overtime before you won the game. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's tough sledding on both sides of the ball when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. To the Dallas Cowboys, you gotta go to Buffalo. Your next game is Buffalo, and then after that your next game is Miami. But Miami ain't looking too hot after last night, which that I'm gonna talk about the Miami Dolphins a little bit later, because it was a lot of stuff that happened in that game that I did not like. But as far as Dallas, you did what you were supposed to do. Got a split. You lead in the NFC East with the Eagles losing a couple of games and Dallas winning out. Maybe Dallas can win the division, and excuse me, maybe Dallas can win the division, but it's gonna take a Herculean effort for Philadelphia to lose these last 4 games, because they got the Giants twice, they got the Cardinals, and then they have the Seahawks. So Dallas, only thing, win out, and then we'll worry about who we playing in the playoffs. The next game I want to talk about is the game that I just said, the Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins. I mean, there's a stat that I found out last night. Teams that are up 2 scores with under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter since 2016 were 0-173. Now, after last night, teams are 1-174 because the Miami Dolphins lost last night. And as far as the offense, it was not hot at all. It didn't look hot at all, because you had Tua fumble the ball. You had Tua fumble the ball once, and then you had Tyreek Hill. He got injured on a play. So Miami, you got the New York Jets coming. You play the New York Jets this coming weekend, and with the offense that you displayed last night, you ain't looking too hot. Now, credit to Tennessee, they playing spoiler. They're 4-8. They can't make the playoffs, so they were just playing spoiler. They just playing spoiler at this point. But you leading by 2 scores, and you only have 3 minutes left, and the game will be over. And you let Tennessee not just gain momentum, but just take the game away from them. They stole that win from the Miami Dolphins. The Tennessee Titans, they stole that win from the Miami Dolphins. Now, Will Levis, he had over 300 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins had over 100 yards receiving. And the running game for Tennessee, Derrick Henry had over 100 yards rushing. So this game. It was a good game, a good Monday night game, but Miami looked bad in a lot of places in this game last night. A lot. So can Miami win versus the Jets? Yes. Do I expect them to win versus the Jets? Yes. I'm going to save my prediction for another video. Now, the last game of the week was Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants. This game right here, it was also a good game. But one thing I got to do is, Giants, you played bad all season, but I got to give a congrats to Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito, hey, DeVito City. Tommy DeVito, he is the man of the hour in New York right now, because since Tommy DeVito has started, he has won 3 straight games. He has won 3 straight games, and he's averaged over 150 passing yards a game. Now, credit, I might add you, his playbook is not that big. Most of the time, 85% of the time, the offense runs through Saquon Barkley. But for the Giants, that was a good win last night. That was a good win. And for the Packers, 6-7. I said that you couldn't lose another game this season, but you are currently on the outside looking in, and it is going to be tough sledding for Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers. Now, coming into last night's game, Matt LaFleur, he hadn't lost a game in December at all in his head coaching career with the Packers. So this is the first loss that Matt LaFleur has experienced. Now my question is, Green Bay, you still have a chance to make the playoffs. Where do you go from here? Obviously, you can look at this 6-7 record and say, hey, we could just call it in, just clock out, the season is over with, or you can dust yourself off and make the best of it and win out. Win out. If you win the rest of your games, you will have a spot in the playoffs. But you're gonna need 5 teams to lose at least one game in order to make a playoff spot. So that's all I have for Green Bay. And for the New York Jets, they 5-8. They still have a chance to make the playoffs. That was crazy to me because I was looking at it this morning, and even though that the season for the Giants is hanging by a thread, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. I didn't even see that happening a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago. I ain't even see that happening. So that's all I have for the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. And those are my reactions for Week 14 of the NFL season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and remember, the key is always on time.